I'm Carlos, board game designer and founder of Lost Games, and welcome back to Diary of a Designer. Each episode I take you inside the real process of building Throne of Etherwyn. No finished product, just the actual work. Today I want to talk about something different, not just mechanics or playtesting. Today is about design philosophy, specifically how we approach the visual and creative identity of the Infernal faction. When we design a faction in Throne of Etherwyn, we are just not picking a color and drawing some creatures. We are making a set of decisions that need to hold together as a system, visually, mechanically, and emotionally. The Infernal faction was the first one where all of those things really click into place, and I want to walk you through how we got there. The Infernal faction has a representative color, red. That's the faction identity on the board, on the card frames, everywhere. But here's a decision that might seem counterintuitive. For the characters themselves, Jesús and I deliberately choose colors that are less present in the rest of the faction palette. Why? Because if everything is red, nothing stands out. The color f-stop means anything. One of my personal favorite illustrations in the whole game is Omsiba. She's an Infernal unit, but her wings have these green tones. Against the red framework of the faction, that green is striking. It gives her a presence that she wouldn't have if we just lean into the red across the board. That's the logic. The faction colors set the stage, the character colors create the performers. The military units in the Infernal factions were inspired by one of my favorite PC games growing up, Heroes of Might and Magic. If you know it, you know the feeling. These massive armies of creatures, each one iconic, like the undead cavalry, fire elementals, demons. Every unit has a visual identity that was immediately readable. That's what we are going for. Among the military units, two of my favorite designs in the whole game are the Nightmare and the Abyss Lord. The Abyss Lord has an interesting story. The original idea was to make something monstrous, a creature that felt genuinely inhuman and threatening, but as we developed it, Jesús pushed us toward a more humanoid interpretation, and honestly, he was right. The humanoid version has something the monstrous version didn't. It has the intention. You look at it and you feel like it's making a decision. Not just attacking, but choosing. That's a hard thing to communicate visually, and I think Jesús nailed it. The card frame for the Infernal faction builds on the red identity, but adds on a specific touch that I really like, the flame effects around the border. It sounds obvious for an Infernal faction, but the execution matters. Done wrong, it's a decorative. Done right, it feels like the card is actually alive. The frame was designed by SonderFlex, the illustration agency we are working on the faction branding. They also designed the faction icons, which follows the same visual language. When you hold an Infernal card, it should feel different from the other, not just the color. The texture of the frame, the movement of the flames, that distinction matters at the table. Artefact cards are still in development across all factions, but for the Infernal, we already have one finish, the Sceptre of Dominion. Of all the artifact illustrations we have at this point, this one is my favorite. I'm not going to say much about it, I'd rather you just see it. I hope you like it as much as I do. Danny is working on the location cards for the Infernal faction right now. He'll be finishing those as soon as he wraps the game cover, which, and I say this without exaggeration, is looking spectacular. I'll share that the moment I'm allowed to. The faction icon is also in progress through SonderFlex, following the same design language as the card frame. Everything should feel like it belongs to the same world. That's the Infernal faction, 1 of 6. In future episodes, I'll take you through the other faction the same way. The thinking behind the colors, the character, the visual system as a whole. If you have questions about anything I've covered, leave a comment. And if you've been following along with the design diary, thanks for being here. See you next week.